Hello there, and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I am Victor Matthias. Nigeria's tech ecosystem has, in the last decade, witnessed a lot of innovations from indigenous players that have reshaped how we do things in the country. Now, this episode of the program will take a look at some of these innovative ideas and also look at how the tech ecosystem will fare in the next decade. But before we do all of that, let's first take you through the trending topics in the past week.
The Confederation of African Football honored the football stars, coaches and teams that had a standout performance in the year under review. Nigeria's Asisat Oshoala emerged the best female footballer on the continent, while Senegal's Sadio Mane picked the men's award. In a rather unexpected turn of events, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex decided to quit public life, though it later emerged the announcement came against the Queen's strict orders. The couple say they will split their time between the UK and North America in the future.
Well, there you go. Interesting topics in the past week that made the trends list. But joining us to look at today's topic, we have joining us Muyiwa Matuluko, Editor-in-Chief of TechPoint Africa. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me, Victor.
We also have Tubo Tamanov Victor. He joins us as well in Lagos here. He's the founder of DiscoverX. Thanks as well for being on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And joining us via Skype from Abuja, Nigeria's capital territory, is the essay on innovation to the Vice President, Ife Adebayo. It's a pleasure to have you on the program as well.
Thank you, Victor. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. Thanks once again. So let me just come back to you to kickstart this conversation for us. I mean, so much has happened, in the last decade in Nigeria's tech ecosystem, but we're looking at the next decade. And what do you think, what remarkable achievements do you think would be made moving forward?
I mean, a lot of things that happened last year, we're still going to be seeing a lot of improvements this year. So, for example, in the fintech space, financial inclusion is still a very important aspect. So, we're going to be seeing more improvements that we've already seen that the CBN reviewed policies in terms of transfer charges and all of that. And a few other initiatives that they are, coming up with to help financial inclusion. So, we're going to see more of that. Some people are hoping that we will see 5G, spread by. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Maybe another year.
Yeah, at least in this decade, we'd see
this
coming
decade. Probably in this decade, but yeah. Okay, yeah, we're talking about the decade, so yeah, definitely, probably in this decade, most likely. Although it took about 9 years for 4G to come to Nigeria, but yeah, but we'll see how it goes. So, I mean, financial inclusion, very important. I think that we're going to see a lot of improvements in that. I think that's the major place we'll see a lot of improvement. Every other part is very hard to predict.
What about for you? I mean, what do you see?
First, from the tech ecosystem, we're going to see improved funding for startups in this decade. The last decade, we saw some startups were funded, and we had our first unicorn in InterSwitch, we'll call that indigenous one. So we'll see more of those, not like too much, but at least 2, 3, 4 more unicorns pop up in the ecosystem. And we would also see more innovation, more disruptions in the space. We'll see more usage of AI, blockchain, mixed reality, virtual reality. So all this will come into place. This is what we're looking forward to. And of course, 5G, most definitely, like I said. This is a whole decade stretch, so 5G will definitely take full course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much excited that you mentioned, virtual reality and all of that, because even here in channels, like, we did something virtual. I'll come to that in a bit, but let's quickly also hear from Ife. Ife, I mean, past 10 years, pretty much exciting, especially for you, your office. I mean, you guys have been doing some stuff, but I mean, what is the plan for the future?
Thank you very much, Victor. So I think the next decade is going to be very important for Nigeria and for Africa as a whole. I think we're going to see a lot more government engagement with the ecosystem as both parties, both the government and the ecosystem, understand and realize that they both need each other. I think we're going to see a lot of disruptive change, of course, like has been mentioned, but I don't think it will be just in fintech. In fintech, yes, financial inclusion, yes, but also in the agriculture space, we're going to see a lot of new people coming up with new ideas to solve solutions in that sector, in health, and in logistics. These are areas that I think in Nigeria and in Africa, we're going to see a lot of things. We will also see the acceptance and the growth of 5G, definitely. Then finally, there will be a lot more intra-Africa collaboration. So we already have the collaboration between CC Hub, for example, in Kenya. Buying up a hub in Kenya. We have a lot of startups and tech entities in Nigeria working with people in Kenya, people in Rwanda. So I think we're going to see a lot more intra-Africa collaboration over the next decade.
All right. So, I mean, it's just pretty much cool that he talked about collaboration. Just before we started, we were talking about collaboration,
Exactly.
And all of that. Maybe you could shed more light on the kind of collaboration, you would want to see moving forward.
Okay, so basically, I would see collaboration in different phases. One, collaboration between the tech ecosystem and the government. One, collaboration among tech players in the ecosystem, right? And also collaboration with the ecosystem in Nigeria with other ecosystems. So first, the one with the government, want to see improved policy, want to see more dialogue happen between the tech ecosystem leaders or, how would I put it now? Major players in the ecosystem with the government, interface with the government, talk more about policies that would favor startups in the ecosystem. We want to see participation of more startups in inclusive innovation process around what governments are bringing up and everything. Then also want to see collaboration between companies in the ecosystem, okay? So over the last decade, okay, let's use Silicon Valley for instance. We could see products pop up and they had product in product, right? So you could open your Slack and inside your Slack, you can use Zoom. You could use Asana, Trello, Basecamp, all these apps are inside. These are all collaboration within players, right? So can we start seeing
something like
can we open Jumia and see piggy bank inside or something? How do we, what really happens? I really cannot say, but
let's wait and see if that will happen. Let's look at policies. I mean, do you think the government has put in place all those policies that would,
I mean,
the last decade?
there's still a lot to be done, but I mean, there's some progress made. I mean, just recently, the FIRS announced that small businesses that make a turnover of less than 25 million a year do not have to pay capital income tax anymore. And then there's a threshold for those between 25 million and 100 million will pay 20% instead of the usual 30%. So I mean, for startups that are just coming up and feel like, okay, taxes are one of the biggest obstacles that they face. They are just starting to come up, and then your profits or revenue you're making, tax.
You have to pay tax.
So now they know that, okay, at least
there's that haven.
There's that small haven. So we're seeing a few pockets of things happening. But again, we're also seeing things that we don't like to see. I don't want to say so much about them, but I think I would like to see more of policy. So especially in the area of connectivity. Again, just yesterday, over the week, we learned that right-of-way charges are going to go up by about 100%. And 1,000% in some states, including Lagos. So that means that telecom providers cannot spread, it will be more expensive for them to, and who do they push the cost to? Customers and small businesses that need the internet to survive. So we'd like to see policies that, help and improve connectivity. I think that's very important.
Well, I mean, so I think I should just push that directly to Ife. I mean, so we're talking policies now. I mean, moving forward, right-of-way issues, taxation. Thankfully, the FIRS has, made it clear that, okay, if your company is making just maybe around 25 million, that there's this tax haven. But, I mean, let's look at other policies. I mean, what is the plan? What is being implemented or what is being prepared, moving forward for the ecosystem?
So for the ecosystem moving forward, I think I'll speak to two things that were mentioned, which is the right-of-way issue and the connectivity issue. And I think these are two of the key things that the Minister of Communications, Dr. Pantami, is really focused on. He has been made aware of this plan by states. And it's important to note that as the chairman of the National Economic Council, one of the conversations the Vice President has been leading, and I think working with the Minister of Communications, is this issue of right-of-way and how we can harmonize right-of-way across the different states. For example, when you look at Kaduna State, Kaduna State has dropped its right-of-way charges. So, maybe a lot of the pressure and advocacy should also go to the state government to actually have the powers to make many of these changes. But as a federal government, via the NEC, where all the governors meet with the presidency, there are conversations on this going on already. On connectivity issues, also, the federal government has a broadband plan that is currently being implemented, and we are quite hopeful that we will soon start to see the effects of this. Then on other policies, company registration can now be done totally online. We have a new visa on arrival policy for everybody who is an African. So if you're an African, you don't need to queue at the embassy to get the visa to come to Nigeria. You just apply online before your arrival, and you get your visa when you arrive in Nigeria. So this helps. This is also going to help the ecosystem. It's going to also, when you look at how the new African Free Trade Agreement is going to work for the ecosystem, these are the kind of policies that the government needs to put in place. So the next 10 years, the next decade will actually be very critical, and we'll start to see some of the effects of these things as time goes on.
All right, I would have to say that, I can't wait for that to happen, and I mean, we just have to be optimistic, right? But just for a bit of context, let's quickly just show you a glimpse of a few top innovations that were recorded in the past decade, and then we'll come back to get more from our panelists.
All right. Pride of the Green, cleared for takeoff. Let's go. The African child is creative, is innovative, and is talented. For instance, look at us that went abroad and came back. We are within the ages of 16 to 18, and we did it. And if given the chance, or if given more opportunity, we are going to do better and also save lives with technology.
Action.
When they told me that my daughter, Rifkatu, was among the girls that were kidnapped from the school, I could not believe it. What did I do?
We also have joining us from our Abuja studio via the virtual reality interface, Ben Cosmos. Ben, it's a pleasure to have you today on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, there you go. Those were some of the major achievements that Nigerians made in the past decade. But you guys should just hold your thoughts. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll get reactions from our panelists right here in the studio, as well as from Abuja via Skype. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We'll still have with us our panelists in the studio as well as via Skype. So, I mean, you saw all of those things that were highlighted, in the report, I mean, which one of them, got you excited pretty much in this
I
past
think
decade?
the VR film story
Documentary on Chibok girls.
yeah, very, very interesting. I mean, it shows us, that's one way, if you've never understood how important VR is, maybe you think it's just a gimmick, or that's one of the ways you realize that, okay, there's this important role it has to play in storytelling, in even in, for example, people who maybe are paralyzed and want to experience different places around the world, it could help them experience places or experience things they normally wouldn't have been able to. So you can see the medical use of that. You can see the use in education, and which other continents can reap the benefits more than Africa. Where we have so many challenges around the education and all of that. So yeah, VR, very interesting.
Oh yeah, great. What about you, Victor? What do you think?
Basically, I would have gone with the aircraft, but still, the VR technology, all are nice, but the VR technology is awesome because it gives you that immersive experience, right? Just like you rightly mentioned, you could be here and still be in Dubai at the same time with that whole experience, that feel and everything. So basically, the VR, it's awesome, and we're expecting more improved technology performance from the VR, what it has to offer, perspective and everything. So we're expecting more stuffs on augmented reality and mixed reality, all play together, do you understand, in terms of what you had said earlier, education, health, in terms of reading some big data or whatever. So we're expecting more immersive experiences from this. But bravo to the guys who did all what they did. I'm expecting the next decade they would improve more on it.
All right, Ife, for you, which one of the technologies pretty much tickled your fancy?
So it's interesting to hear them speak about the VR because I was a huge part of that. I was not this Innovation Hub, which was launched by the Vice President in 2018. And it shows us that we can get quality things out of this country irrespective of the region. In the same hub, we have guys who are doing 3D printed prosthetic limbs for amputees due to the insurgency in the region. So I would say for me, that's really important to show that if with the right kind of support, we can get good things from this country. But if I was to pick from all the ones that we've been shown, I would say that each of them is important. What we need to find as government and as an ecosystem, as private sector, as investors, is how we can support all these guys to become the Amazons of Africa, to become the Facebooks of Africa, to become the Teslas of Africa. And I think that's what we should be looking to do within the next decade. We should be looking at how we can get development money from Bank of Industry, from Bank of Agric, from Development Bank of Nigeria. We should be looking at how we can raise private capital, to support these guys and build the
If now that you've mentioned this, I mean, what is the budgetary allocation? I mean, for the tech ecosystem, how has it been? I mean, and also what is it like moving forward? How much has the government invested?
So there is a lot of money going into the ecosystem because there are a lot of agencies. We have NITDA, we have NCC, we have the Ministry of Science and Technology, we have the Ministry of Communications. So if you're going to be speaking about an aggregation of that, that will be putting all that together. The mistake people make in Nigeria sometimes is they look at NITDA budget and they tell you, oh, this is what government budgeted for technology. But you forget that even ITF, for example, does training on technology. So an aggregation of all that is what will give us what exactly is given to the ecosystem, which I am strongly positive is very substantial.
All right, Ife Adebayo, SA Innovation, to the Vice President. Thank you for joining us on the program today and sharing your thoughts.
My pleasure.
Of course. Well, I mean, so it's a good thing you all mentioned virtual reality. Channels TV also, in African broadcasting history, Channels TV also introduced the virtual reality interface whereby you bring people from, other studios into the studio here, in Lagos. That's pretty much exciting, and I think it should have gotten you guys excited. Broadcasting, the face of broadcasting pretty much, has changed thanks to virtual reality. So that feeling, you get there. But, just in wrapping up, do you think there are enough, do you think the tech players get enough support?
No, I
Because
don't.
you just made mention of a variety, a number of
I think the major issue is there's definitely an attempt, to support, but a lot of it sometimes is misdirected,
okay.
in my opinion. And I think there should be more involvement of the players, you know, to
Well-
understand what their real needs are
All right.
and what government should be doing.
What do you think?
Broad collaboration. We should involve more players in the scheme of things. Let's be there deciding. Let's know what happened, and let's also impute more on this so we could have a better spend.
All right, very well. Then thank you. Hopefully this next decade will be very, very interesting for every facet of the ecosystem. But I have to say thanks for joining us on the program. Muyiwa Matuluko, Editor-in-Chief, TechPoint Africa, as well as Victor Tubot Tamuno, founder of Discovery X. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on the program. We'll be back in a moment with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Please stay with us.
The fire that gutted the Kara market in Ogun State begins this week's most viewed videos in 5th place. It's followed in 4th by that of the destruction of shanties in the Lekki area of Lagos by the Lagos State Task Force. Third place is taken by the lady who expressed her feelings after the Kwara State government demolished a property belonging to the family of the former Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki.
They are destroying everything. They are destroying a woman being. All the old woman that was here.
Yes, that's true.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Burutai, daring Boko Haram insurgents and walking through the Gwaza Hills in Borno State, takes second place.
Or areas where the terrorists are hibernating, they've identified them, and they constantly raid those areas. So that's the spirit, and I'm sure the progress is quite commendable.
I'm reporting anybody in this world. People are collecting 1,000 naira. No human being can accept. Since morning, Boko Haram is attacking people, and again Nigerian military and soldiers and police are receiving money and checking going to 1,000 naira per candidate to proceed.
I will look at this because there's a law that nobody should do such a thing.
We have seen it. That is the committees.
While first spot is taken by the outburst of Borno State Governor over alleged extortion of travelers by soldiers and policemen.
And there you go. Those were the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. However, the last decade, no doubt, recorded what can be referred to as the bedrock of the Nigerian tech ecosystem. The next decade, hopefully, will see a consolidation of the recorded successes, more global recognition, and most importantly, exportation of Nigerian-made tech solutions to the world. On that note, we wrap it up on the program, but as always, continue via the social media addresses showing on your screen. Thanks again for being a part of the show. I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you for watching.